Hello everybody, and thanks for joining us on this midweek edition of Inside Africa. The 2012 United Nations Conference on Trade and Development report on least developed countries shows the highest brain drain rate is found in 48 countries. The report reveals that immigrants from these countries have increased from 1.3 million in 2000 to over 2 million at present.
To counter the negative effects of brain drain and emigration from these countries, UNCTAD is proposing a new international support mechanism to enable highly skilled indigenes from least developed countries based in the Western world to contribute to specialized knowledge transfer and to channel investment to their home countries. The 2012 United Nations Conference on Trade and Development report states that educated and highly qualified nationals of the world's poorest countries who have left to work elsewhere could counter the brain drain effect on their home countries by contributing to knowledge transfer and channeling investment back home. To make this a reality, UNCTAD is proposing a knowledge transfer scheme to consist of a financial instrument targeting nationals of least developed countries who live and work in foreign countries. Known as Investing in Diaspora Knowledge Transfer, the scheme seeks to enlist members of this group willing to invest in knowledge creation and learning in their home countries. It would also aim to enhance potential benefits from members of the diaspora who have expertise in a specific field with high knowledge content which is amenable to enterprise development and could contribute to building productive capacities in their home countries. The chief of mission at the International Organization for Migration, Diane Epstein, said her outfit will provide UNCTAD with the needed support since the initiative will go a long way to reduce the number of emigrants across the world. A former special advisor to UNCTAD's Secretary General and Chief of Cabinet, Mr. Kwabena Badodu, said improving the productive capacity of least developed countries is the key to enabling their populations to achieve long-term economic growth on one hand and escaping poverty on the other.
The basic message of the report is that remittances can be a source of development finance, and diasporas can work as channels of knowledge transfer to home countries, provided required policies are put in place.
The launch of the Least Developed Countries Report 2012 was under the theme Harness Remittances and Diaspora Knowledge to Build Productive Capacities.
Students and educational institutions in the central region of Ghana have received free laptops from government. The Minister for Environment, Science and Technology, Madam Sherry Ayite, performed the distribution exercise.
2,554 laptops were distributed to individuals and educational institutions made up of polytechnic, teacher training colleges, nursing training colleges, universities and senior high schools. The distribution of the free laptops is part of the ministry's Better Ghana Laptop project, under which laptops are distributed to institutions and individuals to promote research, teaching and learning. Sector Minister Sherry Ayite commended government for mooting the initiative. She expressed the hope the equipment would stimulate academic performance in schools.
We want almost all the teacher training colleges to have ICT lab, because they will go out and teach, the students. So it is, very, very important that we also assist them with ICT knowledge.
The Central Regional Minister, Ama Benyuado, said the NDC government is working tirelessly to ensure transformation of the economy with emphasis on growth and human capacity building. She asked electorates to retain the party in power to enable it to execute more developmental projects and programs.
For our dear nation to become part of the knowledge, it requires skilled human resources capable of taking advantage of the technologies available to move our country forward in the right direction.
Similar distribution of laptops have taken place in the 3 regions of the North and the Volta region.
Away from Ghana, the M23 rebel group says it will withdraw from the city of Goma in the Democratic Republic of Congo, but only if the president grants their demands. But however, the government has dismissed their demands as a farce.
At a press conference in Goma, M23 behaved more like a government than a rebel army. Its political leadership presented a series of conditions for the Congolese government. The man who calls himself the president of M23 says there'll be no withdrawal from Goma until those conditions are met.
The
retreat from Goma is not a problem because it is not our priority. Our priority is the well-being of the Congolese people.
Among the fighters' priorities are the release of political prisoners and the withdrawal of pro-government rebel forces in the region.
We are not bandits. We are not people who operate without listening to the wishes of others. We are ready to collaborate. We are ready to help our country play a role and bring peace to the region.
There is talk in Goma that if the fighters leave, the politicians of M23 may stay. The Congolese military says M23 is declaring war by not leaving. The army is now less than 50 kilometers from the provincial capital. The people of Goma face yet more uncertainty.
I would love the two groups to talk so everyone can stay in peace. War is not good because people live in fear.
If they're going to talk, they should agree not to go backwards. Things are very bad.
There are worrying reports from the Rwandans that a rebel group backing the Congolese army has attacked their territory. Kinshasa has denied the allegations. The Ugandan military says M23 will be out of Goma by Friday. The only time we'll know for sure is when the group actually starts leaving.
Now, the International Criminal Court, ICC, says it will prosecute the Boko Haram Islamic sector for cases of gross human rights abuse if the Nigerian government does not take them into consideration. The radical group has been terrorizing Nigerians in several parts of the country for the last 7 months, killing more than 1,000 people and wounding thousands others. The sect members are suspected to be behind a daring raid in Abuja in a bid to rescue some of its members.
A dawn raid in the capital, Abuja, at a police station by unknown assailants left 2 policemen and 5 civilians dead. 30 detainees escaped during the morning assault by people believed to be part of the outlawed Islamic sect group Boko Haram. The targeted facility holds some of the members of the outlawed group.
Our census shows that about 30 of the suspects originally tried to escape. But a tactical operation was carried out immediately. And as I speak to you, 25 of the suspects have been rearrested.
The police say no civilians were affected by the assault, but residents of Kaduna State, 3 hours drive away from the capital, say they lost some of their kin in the ambush.
5 other suspects who were originally being held in relation to armed robbery charges are currently at large, and the force is intensifying efforts to get them rearrested immediately.
So far, no group has claimed responsibility, but the police suspect the Boko Haram may have been on a mission to rescue their members in police custody. The Boko Haram have been terrorizing Nigerians for a while. They want to make Nigeria a Muslim state and believe Western education is evil.
As a president of a country, you will not preside over dead bodies. You will be a president of people who are alive.
They are now targeted by the International Criminal Court. The ICC is calling on the Nigerian government to arrest and prosecute the members responsible for atrocities against Nigerians, or it will move in to take up the responsibility.
We stay in Nigeria, and this time around, for young Nigerian women who have escaped sexual slavery in Europe, coming home can be difficult as a journey. In Edo State, victims can be freed by the same kind of magic that enslaved them in the first place.
Naomi Benjamin lives in Abu Mary, a typical farming village in Edo State, Nigeria. And like other villages in the area, it is populated by young people who dream of something better. About 3 years ago, Naomi volunteered to be trafficked to Europe, thinking she was going to be a nanny, learning later she was meant to be a prostitute.
When I get there, she said, it's not the baby I want to take care of. That she all used that one to move me away from Nigeria, so that would be interesting to come to Europe.
Naomi says she was finally deported from Italy after 2 years in jail, but coming home penniless and shamed was as hard as the trip. It is often assumed here that any poor girl that travels has been a prostitute. Solomon Okudua is the president of the Initiative for Youth Awareness on Migration, Immigration, Development, and Reintegration, an aid organization for returnees. He says many victims fear they will be killed by a juju spell, the magical oath in which they swore they would pay traffickers for their trip or die. Okudua says a traditional spiritualist or shaman can reverse the spell, or at least convince the girls they are free, which has the same practical result. Despite the fear and hardships, he adds, people will continue to want to travel.
The economic situation that is the drive our people, that is chasing so many of them out of the country. But thinking that there is, the grass is greener on the other side.
Programs like Okudua's teach returnees job skills like farming, but many graduate without jobs or the capital to start a business. Back in Abu Mary, other young people listen as Naomi finishes her story. Joy Area Mentor listens to the tale, but says she still wants to travel.
America, because we don't have help here, nothing, no work. Because my family is too poor, that's why I want to go to America.
If she gets a chance to travel, something bad may happen, she says. But she says something bad, meaning spending her life on the farm, will definitely happen if she stays home.
We are now in East Africa, and our first stop is in Ethiopia, where representatives of higher educational institutions have deliberated on capacity building with the aim of addressing maladministration. They discussed the matter of state universities' good governance and ethics building movement conference held in Addis Ababa.
Survey released by the Federal Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission indicate that higher education institutions are characterized by maladministration and ethics problems, although they are expected to be center of excellence. Commissioner of the Federal Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Ali Soleiman, warned it is difficult to ensure education quality and even develop the higher education institutions unless the existing maladministration ways are fully closed.
Although various efforts are being made to ensure good governance and transparency in our universities in a sustainable manner, it seems inadequate. Therefore, we need to strengthen our efforts so as to reach the desired level by ensuring accountability and transparency. This would guarantee the quality of education.
It was remarked on the conference that there are ethical problems with management and academic employees in the institutions. Besides, employment and promotion of human resource has not been carried out in line with a proper directive. The conference stressed the need to closely work with ethical officers so as to get rid of such problems. The participants also discussed a report presented by Higher Education Institutions Auditor General. The report has shown that financial management and utilization, among other problems, are being observed in higher education institutions. Board chairpersons, presidents and ethics officers of the universities, among others, have attended the conference.
Over in Uganda, a section of members of parliament are vowing to nip in the bud a campaign spearheaded by President Yoweri Museveni to grant the energy minister total control over the oil sector. The legislature said this is a ploy by the president to monitor and have jurisdiction over Uganda's oil. The MP say they will stage a demonstration this week to protest what they call the head of state interference in policies concerning the oil sector.
Yesterday, Parliament failed to pass the Petroleum Exploration, Development and Production Bill of 2012 because there was no quorum in the House. Earlier, the NRM caucus in Parliament met to discuss further President Museveni's request that they back him on granting the Energy Minister full powers over the oil sector. There has been contention among legislators over the bills, especially on the issue of the powers of the minister to grant operating licenses to oil companies.
Now the president wants to arrogate himself the responsibility of negotiating agreements, issuing licenses under the guise of a minister.
How can the president negotiate a contract, an oil contract, an oil agreement, and also license the oil companies? It's unheard of.
According to Western Youth MP Gerald Karuhanga, Parliament is now under pressure to pass the oil bills with amendments engineered by the head of state.
And we know what they are doing to our speaker. The speaker is being put under a lot of pressure. So we are coming out to say, no, leave the speaker. We must respect the doctrine of separation of powers.
MPs now plan to act on the matter, beginning with a demonstration at Parliament on Tuesday next week.
We are all calling upon all Ugandans of goodwill and all Ugandans of all walks of life. Come Tuesday, be eyewitnesses and say, I was there.
The objectives of the Petroleum Exploration, Development and Production Bill of 2012 include regulating petroleum exploration, development and production. It also seeks to establish the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, as well as provide for a national oil company, which these MPs prefer, as opposed to the minister having power over the sector. The proposed law will also regulate the licensing and participation of commercial entities in petroleum activities and provide an open, transparent and competitive process of licensing, which some legislators say will be breached if government has its way in getting Parliament to grant leverage to the Energy Minister over the oil industry.
Bringing you more news from East Africa, the Islamist militant group Al-Shabaab in Somalia has lost much ground in recent months to African Union and Somali government forces. But analysts warn that Al-Shabaab is fighting an increasingly sophisticated media war and is actively recruiting foreign fighters to join its ranks.
Al-Shabaab, it's called Inspire the Believers. This man, who calls himself Abu Dujana, says he is from Britain and has a distinct London accent.
I like to use my time to talk about the blessings of living in one of the lands of jihad. First of all, before some of us came here, we were living in a society where the people were enslaved by their desires.
Abu Dujana is one of many foreigners appearing on this video who have purportedly gone to fight for Al-Shabaab in Somalia. Others are from Sweden, Pakistan, Ethiopia, Sudan and Kenya. They are trying to lure others to follow.
That for us, our chance to fight for our beliefs is the best thing that can happen to us in this world. And the fact that we may be killed in this path is nothing but a glad tiding.
The video, over 30 minutes long, is part of a series produced by Al-Shabaab aimed at a Western audience. Shiraz Meher of the International Centre for the Study of Radicalisation at King's College London says the group is emulating and even surpassing Al-Qaeda's propaganda tactics.
It's producing high-quality videos with great production values in the way that we've seen Al-Qaeda do in the past. They're using Twitter to engage with Muslims around the world to offer instant rebuttal, instant analysis of world events.
Other videos use a news style, with another British accented male narrating and interviewing fighters. This video is called Mogadishu, the Crusaders' Graveyard. It was produced in 2011, before African Union troops retook the capital from Al-Shabaab.
The Mujahideen on their part vowed to crush the Crusaders and with the permission of Allah managed to raise the banners of Tawheed on top of their tanks.
Shiraz Meher says it's difficult to put an exact figure on numbers of foreign fighters.
For a number of years, Al-Shabaab was able to recruit openly in the United States, was able to raise funds openly and in essence put down roots, establish an infrastructure of people and ideology and material in those communities long before law enforcement prescribed it.
The effort by al-Shabaab to recruit overseas could be a sign of its falling support among the Somali population and of recent successes by African Union forces, says Valentina Soria of London-based analyst group the Royal United Services Institute. Terror analysts say the West should consider how to fight the propaganda war against Islamist groups like al-Shabaab, as well as winning territory on the ground.
Let's wrap up with some cultural news. Designers from West and Central Africa have presented their bold creations in the Togolese capital Lomé at the 3rd edition of the Fashion Biennale MOD. At the event, fashion lovers were treated to a palette of bold colors and daring creations. This year's event featured more than 19 designers and over 40 models from several African countries.
Here at the Fashion Biennale in Lomé, fashion lovers were treated to a palette of bold colors and daring creations. This year's event featured more than 19 designers and over 40 models from several African countries. Togo's fashion industry is growing, and the country is gaining a reputation as a source of new talent and providing a platform for young designers.
This is the opportunity to show that Africa is not just about poverty, misery and unemployment, but Africa is also about fun, where people enjoy fashion.
One of the standouts is Togolese designer César Vaudis. He's known for combining traditional and modern styles, using different types of fabrics in batik and African prints. Vaudis is highly sought after in Lomé, where he employs more than a dozen tailors. He hopes events such as the Fashion Biennale will help thrust him onto the world stage. In Togo, like in many African countries, the lack of financial support, infrastructure, and exposure is still holding back a growing crop of young fashion designers.
It is a passion of mine, so I did all that you can to become a fashion designer, but it's not easy. Even today I struggle.
Despite the difficulties, African fashion is growing bigger and bolder at home, and it's starting to register on the radar of design houses and style magazines abroad.
It is on that note that we come to the end of this edition of Inside Africa. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more news on AFRIQUE Media.